Hi, everybody. Well, we say we're 10-minute advice, but that was yesterday. Today, we're going to be a little longer than 10-minute advice, so I'm going to make the switch I forget every week. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside Scoop with Sue. And today, I'm back with Dr. Cam because we just love your advice. It's so grounded and realistic, and you just delivered in a way that I think it's easy. It's not easy to do it successfully, but it's easy to see yourself applying it, which is great. So, first of all, you're the host of a podcast, Parenting Teens with Dr. Cam. So, if you guys want to check out more of her stuff, she's there, and also you could check her out on our site, yourteenmag.com, because we've got a lot of interviews with her. Um, so, I think this topic is so fraught, the topic of our daughters and their friends. And there is this kind of feeling like people have figured it out. And so when your kid hasn't figured it out, that there's something wrong. And I'll start with the big one. Your kid's part of a group of friends, wherever they feel they fit in. If they think they're the bottom rung or the top rung, they know where they're sitting for lunch every day. They just understand where they are and that they have some people, right? Whatever that is. And one day, and we've all heard these stories, or they've happened to our kids, they show up in at the sporting event or at the lunchroom and their chair is gone, and there's the circle has closed and left them on the outside. So tell us first, like, is there a way for us as moms, as parents, to support that child through that?
I think the first thing I want us as parents to sit back and realize, because we immediately go to this place of panic, like, oh my gosh, what are they doing to my kid? Oh my gosh, my kid's going through so much pain. Or what did my kid do? Right? We have this fear and we want to fix it. And I think the first thing I want everyone to kind of breathe, because I've been through this with my kid as well. This is a very common, not that it doesn't hurt, it hurts a lot, we have to address it, but it is a very common experience among kids to feel left out. And I was just telling Sue before this, I have clients on the entire spectrum of popularity. So I've got the kids that are like the most sought after prom queen kids, and I've got the kids that don't want to go to school, hide their faces, don't want to talk to people, right? Completely socially anxious. And every single one of them has issues with their friends and feeling left out by their friends, feeling excluded by their friends, feeling like they're not liked for who they are and that they have to be someone different for their friends.
So I just want to jump in on that one,
Yeah.
because if that's the human condition, if we can say that that is how it is, that relationships are challenging and there's ups and downs, and in our lives and in our kids' lives, how is it that we are so affected when it's our kid going through what we've all gone through, right? Like if we've lived a life, we've gone through that.
We have, but we're still affected. I mean, even as adults. I mean, I talked to my mom who's, retired, and her friends still have friend issues. Like, this is an ongoing, never ending thing. I think for us, we've learned a little bit better we have perspective, first of all. So we know things will pass, we'll make new friends, it'll get better. We know all that, right? And we have friends. Our kids don't have that perspective, and we feel their pain because we want everything to be okay for our kids, and we don't want our kids to go through that pain. And we see how much it impacts them because they feel at that point, I will never have a friend again. Nobody in the world likes me, right? It becomes this big thing. And so we kind of approach it from two different ways. Often we may try to minimize it and say, oh, you're just in middle school or high school, and oh, they don't deserve you, or it's right. We try to kind of minimize it, or we go over the top and go, let me call their parents. Oh my gosh, this is not okay. Oh my gosh, and let me fix this. And we tend to go to two extremes because we panic and we want to make them feel better. And so what I want to encourage us to do is let's approach it from this neutral zone of, this is the time where my child feels left out. Maybe more times, but this is that time. It's going to
So
happen.
so it's like saying, we're not so special. Like this is happening all over the place, and this is your time right now. I love that because it
Yep.
contains it. It just
Yep.
contains it.
Yep.
Not
This is it.
forever.
Yep. This is that period of time, and this is that experience that we know she's going to go through. How do I help her through that time? And this is again, how do I help her get from where she's at now? I know eventually she's going to get through it. I'm not going to be able to convince her of that because she doesn't have my perspective. What does she need right now to feel okay until she feels okay? Right? So I think the first thing is to know it's one thing is when we overreact and we make it this big deal, they suddenly feel like, oh my God, something's really wrong with me. Oh no, like, oh my gosh, this doesn't happen to anyone. Instead of, oh yeah, I remember when this isn't about me, but it's about like, I remember when that happened to me and it hurt. How are you feeling? I know this is really hard. I get how, what is it like for you? And validate that experience. Don't try to taint it. We can't fix it. We can't make them feel better about it. Just validate it. Yeah, that really hurts, doesn't it? How did you respond to that? Right? Let's just let them sit in it for a minute. Let it be. Remind yourself this is temporary. It's not forever. And we have to remind ourselves about that with everything with our kids. I think we always go to the panic. Oh my God, this is going to be this is going to be them for the rest of their lives. This is the time. This is right now. Let's go through that, right? So when we are calm and we're in a place of I'm okay, they're going to read our confidence and calm, and they're going to go, this is okay. This is not the end of the world. Mom's not freaking out. Mom is calm. Mom is listening to me and validating what I'm feeling, but I'm seeing that she believes in me and she knows it's going to be okay by her manner, right? That's so important.
Okay, that is so beautiful. And I feel what you're saying. Like I totally feel as you're saying it, why that could make our kids feel like we believe in them
Yeah.
and that they'll be able to manage this. But if I'm so broken and I'm taking this so personally, like I may be having a hard time feeling that way. So what do I do in that situation? Like I've heard people cry over it, and I get it. I totally get it because there's so much loss.
It is, and I think one of the things when we're crying over it, and I understand why, because I mean, I went through this a few times with my daughter. She's in a great place right now, but she's gone through these stages where she felt completely isolated and left out, and it was so painful because I had those experiences as a kid. And I knew how painful they were. And so it took everything in me because when I'm crying in front of her, she's not seeing it as I'm sad because of my own pain. She's saying I'm sad because my child isn't enough. My child's broken. My child's disappointing me. That's what they're seeing. Not right. So they're not seeing it as I love you and care for you. They're saying, oh my God, this is so bad. It's making my mom cry. This is really bad. Now I'm really panicked about this rather than, okay, mom's calm. This is all going to be okay.
I
And
wonder if it's a little bit like when your kid's running down your toddler's running down the street and like you're supposed to, if they fall, not go like do this exaggerated, and your kid is looking at you, right? So it's kind of the same.
exactly the same. They are reading from you how to respond to this. And if we're panicking and we're crying and we're upset, they're going to go, this is something to panic and cry and be upset about. And they may already be hurting, but now it's taken to the nth degree. Or they also probably, and they're not going to share this information with you again because they either don't want to hurt you or they don't want to disappoint you. And clearly it's doing both. So now, not only are you not helping them in the moment, but now you're not giving them, they don't won't have you when they're feeling alone. And man, when they feel alone, they need you more than ever. You are their saving grace. And this is, when my daughter was going through this, first of all, I was screaming in my head, like, why are they doing this to my kid? Oh my gosh, or oh my gosh, I have a kid that's not liked. This is terrible. and realize this is the experience. And so it became about her. How is she experiencing this? What are her feelings? What does she need? That's a big question. What do you need? What do you need? What can
And
I do?
what can people say, can young, like a high school sophomore, can they, or a eighth grade kid, can they answer that question? What do you need?
Maybe not. But the reason I want you to ask the question is because I want them to know you're there to support them. You're not telling them what you need. You're not trying to fix it. You're just saying, and they may take a while. They may go, I don't know. And a day or two later, they go, you know what, Mom? It would be great. Can we just go to the movies? I just need someone, I want to just sleep for a day. Can I do, like, they'll think about it. They may be so surprised that you're even asking them, because we don't tend to ask them what they need. We tend to tell them what they need. So give them that space, and then do what you can for them, right? Make sure that they may just need to talk. They may need to vent on and on and on about it for a while, and let them figure it out. Vent it and help them problem solve. And be like, yeah, I wonder what you could do about that. I wonder how you could respond to that. Or, so tomorrow you're going in, and they're already freaked out about this, right? Tomorrow you go to lunch, and your friends, you don't feel like you can sit with your friends. What what's your plan? And they may like, I don't have one. I'm like, okay, because that's going to create a lot of anxiety, right? So you don't have a plan. So let's think about this. What are some options? What could you do? So
So
now we're helping them cope.
okay, so the brainstorming is fantastic. But are there any suggestions for things like, should we be talking to our kids about finding another friend, a different friend, maybe someone you didn't see as your friend in the past? Like, are there things that we can be putting out there that they are young and they don't have life experiences that we can offer up?
Yeah, and I think again, and the reason I want to encourage the brainstorming is because at this age, they're learning to problem solve. So when we give them the answer, they're not learning to figure out the answer or learning to trust themselves. But there's some things that you can throw in there and suggest. Again, don't tell. But I think one of them, and one of the things I've found a lot with kids that feel this, is when they actually have a line of communication and they actually ask calmly, and we practice asking, just saying, I felt this way. Is this what you intended? Right? Not saying, you did this to me. It's like, I felt this way. Is this, when they open from a place where they don't put them on the defense, a lot of these kids have found out that their other friend felt that they were doing it to them. And so it was miscommunication. They had a conversation, they laughed about it, now they're better. That's one thing. So let's see, is this something that could be a miscommunication?
That's
Is there
such a that skill will serve you your whole life.
Yes, very
Married,
much
if
so.
you get married, everything.
Right, and we don't do it. We're very passive aggressive, or we make big assumptions and then act in that. I do. So I'm assuming other people do too, right? Because we do this, right? And I'm trained. I teach people this. I still do it. It's very hard. But so let's first talk about, like, they're going to go to the end of, like, they're to the end of the world. The humans do that. We go to the worst case scenario. So let's neutralize it first and go, okay, let's really talk about what really happened. Like, you're saying that the whole school now hates you. Let's really look at that. Like, who do you feel like, why do you think they hate you? What have they done, right? Could it be another reason? One thing when we're doing this to be careful of, though, is don't either try to side with the other person going, well, what did you do? Or maybe they're feeling, don't do that, because then they're going to be like, well, you're not on my side. But also don't demonize that person. Go, oh, that person's terrible. What an awful kid. Because what if they become friends again? Or what if we completely misinterpreted the situation? So we don't want to jump to that either, right? So it's like,
We were the demonized family. We
yeah,
collectively hated whoever was mean to anyone in
yeah,
our family.
yeah, right.
But we were quick to recover if it was good. We recovered.
So, and I think what we want to do is the kind of the middle ground is to validate the kid's experience. We don't have to demonize the person in order to say, I hear that they really hurt you. I hear that you're really hurt by them. I hear that what they did made you feel really bad. So we're not demonizing them. We're also not supporting them. We're just validating what our kids are feeling, because that's the only truth we really have. so one is, look at that. Another one is to really talk about what did this friendship mean to you? Like, what were you getting out of this friendship? And sometimes we are able to find out. And I have this thing I created, which is like the like a relationshipometer, something cheesy like that. But it's basically like, how do you measure whether it was actually a good friendship or not? Right? How did this person make you feel when you were with them? How is that person treating you now? Like, what is a good friend? And sometimes we're like, is this a friend that you want to keep? What I love to do, and I do this with my clients a lot, is I try to change the story, because often when our kids feel like they're expelled or pushed out, or being mistreated by their friends, they make the person being mean to them the star of the story, and they're the victim of the story. And what I love to do is I love to help them reframe it and say, okay, let's make you the star of your story. It's your story. Let's write it. You're the star. If you're the star, how do you now show up? How do you want to show up in that space? How do you want to present yourself? How do you want to be? Is this a friend you actually want to keep? It's your choice too, right? If someone is doing that to you, is that someone you really want to be friends with? What matters to you? What makes you a good friend? What are the things you want in a friend, right? Then how do we find those friends? And I know you were saying, we were talking earlier and saying, sometimes it's easier to have a bunch of semi friends than even one really good friend. And it's very hard. So helping your kids go, okay, what are the things that you love to do that you can start finding kids that have that in common? The one I will say with my daughter, what we ended up finding is she kept trying to change herself to fit in a group of kids. So even when she was accepted, she wasn't accepted. Who she was trying to be was accepted, right? And so when she finally, and this was something as a mom I was doing, is I kept making sure she knew how she was right now was really valuable. Kids may misunderstand it. She may not be for everyone, but who she is valuable. And we want to help her find the people that believe and love her for her. Now she's found theater, and theater, man, if you want to be accepted and loved, you and I were talking about this too. Theater's the place. My daughter is so happy right now, and she has found the people that can geek out over theater with her, that love her for what she brings to the table, and now she can be herself, and she's just like, and I love it, because now but I get.
Can we
Yeah.
go back to the being the center of the story? Because I think there's something really exciting about thinking about that, again, for life, not just for this moment. But I can't quite wrap my head around how that helps your kid walk into school the next day.
Okay, so the way this does it is that we feel like, and a lot of our kids feel like, everything is acting upon them. And we're in constant response mode, reaction mode, right? So now kids are being mean to them. They need to go into school, and they're anxious because they don't know how people are going to treat them, which means they don't know what they're going to have to do to respond to that. So we want to turn it around where you're going to go into the school and you're the star, and everyone else in your story is responding to you, right? How do you want to show up? How do you want to talk to them, right? And this is like, how do you want to be known? What is important to you? Because a lot of these kids are like, well, I'm a kind person, right? I want, so what do you want when somebody at the end of the day says, who are you, and who do you want to be recognized as? How do you show up to be that person? And you can't control how other people are going to react to that. Some people are going to react well, some people are not, but you can control on showing up the way you want to show up.
And do you find when kids report back that they feel empowered and it changed like the experience for them?
A lot. Even in the moment when we're talking about it, they feel, I mean, I just did this with two of my clients yesterday, and both of them were like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that way. And now I feel like I can go into school and have some sort of control. And it's like coming up with a plan. It's going, okay, so you're worried about the kids. You got to go in and go to your locker. What's the plan? If you pass the kids in the hallway, how are you going to respond? What do you want to do? Because so much of this anxiety is about not knowing. And so we can go, what are you worried about that's going to happen tomorrow? What can we do? Well, I don't know where I'm going to sit for lunch because I always sat with them. That I get that. What are some other things you can do? What makes you comfortable? And this, again, we want them to start saying it because we want them to start problem solving so that when they're on their own and they got to figure it out because something new happened, they feel confident that they can do it. They're not like, oh my God, I got to go talk to mom and ask her what I should do here. We want them to know, right?
I love that. I've never heard of it put that way. And do you think that it could work for a parent doing it with their kid? Or is it
I,
the therapy session that makes it work?
no, I think parents can do this because the way that I hold my sessions, it's like I meet them over coffee. Like me and the kids, we meet over coffee or we go for a walk and we talk, right? And so I just ask them questions and I problem solve with them. Part of this is they trust me, but they also don't worry about disappointing or worrying me because I'm not their mom. So it gives them some safety. So part of this is building that trust in them. But when you do, and when you're just coming from it in a calm place and a curious place, and okay, here we are, let's figure this out together. It's okay. Whatever the choice is, whatever happens, it's okay. It's going to be okay. I still love you. You're still valuable. We're going to get through this together, and I'm here supporting you.
All right. I don't know if this is our last question because it may lead to one more, but this idea about friendship in our adolescence, like an adult just wrote an article about friendship breakups. And I was embarrassed for her reading the article, which I know is ridiculous. Like I've had them. So, but I felt like I don't know the person, it was just a writer, but I was reading it thinking, wow, that's a lot of things to have happen. Maybe it's her. And I was thinking how much embarrassment goes around like friendships. I mean, in some ways, divorce has become more the norm than like a friendship breakup where it's like what happened, right? So how does it not get passed on to our kids with that same we talk about friendship, it's elevated so high, it's about their mental health and well-being, it's so important, and yet we only have some part of that control, right? Like we cannot make those other girls invite us to the table again.
No, and getting involved in it's only going to make it worse too. Especially if your kid says, "Please don't get involved," and you do, and then later you go, "Trust me with this." They will never because you've already said you won't trust, right? So that's why you want to
But
listen to
don't
it.
call the other mother. Let's start there. Don't ever
Yeah,
call the
just
other mother.
don't. Right. So I think in this respect, when we look at broken up friendships, we see it as a failure. Okay, we were going along great. I did something. We usually say I did something wrong. So I did something wrong. I'm a failure at friends. No one wants to be my friend anymore. Rather than going, I had a friend for this amount of time, going really well. Something changed in the dynamic. Something happened. Something changed. What am I learning from that? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about what friendships are? And what am I learning just about that from that friendship, which was successful for as long as it was, and now it's not the right time. And especially when we're in middle school and high school, our friendships help us define who we are, which means we may be friends with people because we think this might be who we are, and then we realize we're not, and we don't know what to do because we're like, now I'm not really that, but we don't see it as, okay, these aren't the right mix for me anymore. Because friendships change so often and they feel like a failure and they feel like a kick out rather than going, that was no longer the right fit for me. Because I'm being me, they don't get me, they might not be, it's not me that's wrong, it's not them that's wrong. It's not the right fit anymore. And that's okay because there's a lot of other kids now that you can go learn from. And they might be a good friend for a while, maybe not. So I think we first of all think friendships need to last our entire lifetime, and they don't. Some do, most don't. And that is okay. It's not a failure as a friend.
I love that. I love everything you said, but I really love that because the expectation in our society is that the failing, that when the friendship ends, there's a failing in that story. And we can teach our kids to do it better than we did it, right? Like to say it had its time and place, and it
Good
isn't
point.
working for, even if you get dumped, it's not working for you anymore. It doesn't have to be about
Right.
someone else's decision. Okay,
Yes.
give us one parting, like moms, don't do this, do this.
I am going to go back to neutralize how you're responding. I think this is so important to building trust with your kids, to setting the tone and how your kids are going to start responding and how they're going to start feeling about themselves. So when we're in a place, and if you're freaking out and worried, that's fine. Go upstairs and do your work. Figure out why you're freaking out. Don't dump it on your kid, right? Your child doesn't need your baggage too. We're trying to help them through their own. So we're going to neutralize it and help them through and let them know it's okay. Validate that they're feeling bad. It's fine. It hurts. It is painful. Yes, absolutely. That's okay. And what do you need?
Oh man, Dr. Cam, I'm so grateful you got on with us today. This was amazing. I really feel like just mind-blowingly amazing, and I hope everyone with a teenage daughter in particular takes a chance, their time to watch this, because it'll shift your lens and it will help your kid. It will change your kid forever. So thank you
You're
for
so
doing this
welcome.
with us.
Thanks for